What is up, enthusiasts? It is Cedar Flags here, and welcome back to another one of my videos. Out of all the years that I've been a roller coaster enthusiast, few stories have interested me more than Top Thrill Dragster's uncertain fate. It's one of the most iconic roller coasters in the world, and despite that, it is one of the most unreliable and problematic roller coasters as well. This ride has had so many problems ever since it opened all the way back in the early 2000s, and it has not stopped since. And before even this, the ride was down a lot, even for full days at some points. But, as we all know, in late 2021, there was an accident where a woman was critically injured, and ever since then, the ride has not been open. So there is a lot to think about this, and a lot to keep track of. And ever since I made my last video on this, link in the description, there has been more information that has come out. So we're going to look at that information today. And also, I asked my fans on a poll yesterday about the fate of Top Thrill Dragster, and I will include that later in the video as well. This is Cedar Flags, and today we are going to look at Top Thrill Dragster in the current state that it's in. So, what do we know? Now, I have not made a video on Top Thrill Dragster in almost a year, and at the time I made that last video, we knew a lot less. In fact, we didn't know too much about the fate of Dragster at all. And at least in the past few weeks, we've gotten a few signs of life in the area, and it really shows that they are working on something. We don't know what it is, but we definitely know a few things. The first thing is that the cable that is the launch system of Top Thrill Dragster is missing. Yes, they removed the launch cables from the ride's hydraulic launch system, which begs to ask, what is going on with that system? The second thing that is obvious when you walk the midways near Dragster are the markers. These are just normal survey markers that you see in, well, any construction or destruction project. The third thing is the missing prop car. This is huge. Now, the reason I say this is huge is because there really is no need to remove the prop car for any sort of maintenance or work. And the fourth thing isn't necessarily a physical thing, but the fact that the park remains completely silent about the issue. Ever since, well, last year, the park has been extremely silent about it. The last time we got an update was when they said that the ride wasn't going to open this year, and we have not heard anything since. They have since announced plans for 2023 in the boardwalk, and have had many press conferences, including Winter Chill Out, where they said, don't talk about the red coaster. So there are a lot of things that we could speculate. So what could happen? I want to look at these bits of information and see what could happen with these scenarios. So this is going to be the second part of the video where I just talk about some possible scenarios from we could see. And in the third part of the video, we are going to look at the poll and predict. But anyways, let's get to what could happen. So looking at the missing cable, this one's pretty obvious. They could be replacing it with a new, more modern and less vulnerable launch system. It could be another hydraulic launch, they're just replacing the materials for it. Or it could be an LSM launch or an air compression launch. I would say most likely if they replaced it, it would be an LSM launch, which I'm not really too big of a fan of, simply because that hydraulic launch is a feeling like no other. And I really feel like this ride would be very interesting without that launch, which is a sole part of the ride. Looking at the markers of the ride, this is the most generic part, because these survey markers show up anytime there's a slight modification for anything. They sort of have to blueprint the project. So this could be anything, a destruction of the ride, a remodel of the ride, but something that I noticed is if they were just going to replace the launch system, they wouldn't have markers down. So this is definitely going to be something major, because if they have markers all around the plot of the ride, they wouldn't just be simply replacing a launch system. They're going to be changing stuff about the midways. And obviously the missing prop car. Now, I have a bunch of scenarios for those other ones, but once again, this one just baffles me. Though looking at both the markers and the prop car, I thought of something. I thought maybe they could be changing the entire plaza for Top Thrill Dragster. If the ride opens up and they decide to do a new launch system, they could do something similar to what they did with Montezuma's Revenge. They could change the ride's queue, they could slightly alter the ride's theme, and the area where you look at your photos and where the prop car was could be completely different and modernized. though I'm not really 100% sure on that either. It's just something interesting to look at in this time. So now let's get to the part of the video where we look at your opinions, and I'm going to give my prediction. Let's look at some predictions as of September of 2022. So that brings us to the part of the video where we speculate. Yes, we really don't know more information than that, and all we gotta do now is just think, because Cedar Point is still remaining silent about the issue. So I don't want to just hear my opinion. In fact, I want to hear your opinions. So yesterday I did a poll that asked, what's the future of Top Thrill Dragster? And, well, it got a lot of votes. In fact, the poll got almost 900 votes by the time I looked at it for this video. And it actually rounded out pretty evenly. 20% of you guys said that it will reopen in 2023 as normal. 70% of you guys said that it reopens eventually, but with changes. Only 1% of you guys said it would reopen in several years, and 9% of you guys, about a tenth of all the people that voted, said that the ride would never reopen. Out of all the replies, there were 4 that definitely stood out to me. So the first one is by Fairy Barf Lettuce. Anyways, they said, I think it would reopen in 2023 with a few slight changes. I could see the free locker system, like the one on Steel Vengeance, coming to Top Thrill Dragster too. As long as it reopens, I'll be happy though. So I find this very interesting because Steel Vengeance's locker system to this day is still very controversial. And I know the item that critically injured that woman was in fact not an object that was a loose article, but a part of the ride. But I really do get where this is coming from because loose articles harm people all the time. The second comment I want to look at is by Tyler Kane. It says, I think Cedar Point will keep this ride, but I don't think it will open until 2023 or maybe even 2024. And if we hear nothing in 2023 before March about it reopening, I would say it's most likely not opening again, but they are definitely waiting big time because Wicked Twister announcement got announced very fast. Now I definitely agree with this, and I think I'm leaning more on the side that the ride isn't going to reopen next year, at least early next year, because it's announcement season and we should be knowing about this. Think about Montezuma's Revenge, we know what's going to happen to it next year, and we haven't heard any BS about it. The third reply I liked was by Intense Thrills, and they said, I think it will open in 2023, but it's going to have slight modifications. Instead of the queue being inside of the structure, they're probably going to move the line outside of the structure. Now I actually really like this idea too, because look at a ride like King Decad that hasn't faced any issues like this. The final comment I want to look at is by Zero G Coasters, and they said, I definitely think the park will reopen it, but I think there will be a major queue modification. But I don't see anything happening other than that. I don't think new gen Intamin trains would work as they aren't compatible with hydraulic launches, and I'm pretty sure Cedar Fair would not want to work with Intamin much, so I think the current trains will stay. That's a very good point because Cedar Fair and Intamin, well, let's just say they don't really get along anymore. It's a little bit of trouble in paradise, and if they want to work with Intamin that much anymore, they're going to have to work with some internal problems first. Anyways, my prediction for now is that they aren't going to open it right away. I think that if there is a future with Top Thrill Dragster, it's going to wait until either 2024 or the latter half of 2023. So like I said, this is a very interesting topic. Let me know down in the comments below if you did not get a chance to reply, and keep looking at the updates. This is Cedar Flags, and I'll see you all later.